Here's a question for you. The majority of people with hearing loss are over or under the age of 65. What do you think the answer is? We're going to talk about that, and I'm talking to a doctor who said these hearing aids are so expensive, so he designed his own after taking a look at an iPhone. So we'll have a discussion all about that coming up. Well, we know it's a noisy world. That may be taking a toll on our hearing. Doctors say our lifestyles are largely to blame for an epidemic hearing loss, which could be headed your way. Chicago area hearing specialist, ear, nose, and throat doctor Sreek Cherukuri.
Yes.
Got it, right? Joining us this morning. Thanks for being here, doctor.
Thanks for having me.
Let's go ahead and go through some of this, what we need to know about hearing loss, because we think this is our grandparents' problem, but it's really not, right? I was surprised that there's millions of people between 18 and 44 who have hearing loss.
Absolutely. Yeah, we think of it as an elderly problem, but and we just have the baby boomers are getting to that age,
Yeah.
so we know there's going to be more and more people with hearing loss. But due to some of the new technologies, mainly MP3 players, people can listen to music for hours at a time.
I know.
With earbuds that are very close to their eardrum.
Right.
And often they have to turn the volume up to drown out the urban noise.
Yes.
And some studies out of the University of Michigan have suggested that they may be partly to blame for 1 in 5 teenagers having a slight hearing loss.
My, okay, and doctors typically don't screen for hearing loss.
That's the thing. Some people think maybe the doctor will tell me if I have a hearing problem, but actually 15% or less primary care physicians actually screen for hearing. And in a quiet doctor's office, people with hearing loss actually do pretty well because they can read lips, or
Right.
and even the doctor can be fooled. It's a subtle thing that's gradual in onset, and even the person may not know.
Well, that's the thing, is people who have hearing loss, I remember my dad used to say, well, you mumble, you and your mom are mumbling. Right.
And maybe you experience this. The person often is the last to know, but
Yeah.
the family members or the loved ones can tell. And it does have effects that are often social or economic in nature.
Well, let's talk about the effects of hearing loss, because, and I know it seems to be embarrassing for some people as they think that this is an old age problem, but you got to forget about the embarrassment, because the effects can be on your relationships, I think, with your grandchildren or maybe even with your spouse.
Absolutely. And one of the things, eyeglasses has become regularly accepted as part of young, youthful, but for some reason hearing and hearing aids has had a stigma associated with it. But the irony is the people that don't want to fix their hearing with a hearing aid, they actually seem older because they're asking people to repeat themselves, or they're answering the wrong question, or missing a punchline. And as you mentioned, it has strains on marriages. There's been a study out of Britain suggesting that 44% of women said the hearing loss of the spouse affected their marriage and may even lead to divorce.
Well, it does change the dynamic of your conversation when you're talking to someone who can't hear. I have a friend whose mother, and so she just ends up giving up. You're trying to have an intimate conversation, and finally you give up. I want to talk about this because you have realized that hearing aids can be very expensive, hundreds, thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And you actually designed this hearing aid, which is kind of a one-size-fits-most for people who can't afford those custom aids.
Right, and the problem is the average hearing aid costs about $1,600 each, and most people need two. Unfortunately, Medicare and most insurance companies don't cover it, so many people go without any hearing amplification, largely due to cost. And so a couple of years ago, the iPhone came out, and there's a company that broke down the components of an iPhone and put the number at just a couple $100. And in my practice, I see patients that often they go without a hearing aid because they can't afford it, and I thought, you know what? We probably can now make a pretty good device for many people. You would think, at a low
technology
cost.
The way it is. Yeah, so how much does this hearing aid cost?
So this is an under $200 device, and it is an FDA Class 1 registered device. We you use world-class hearing aid components, and we just keep it a simple and effective device. It has as many thousands of users, and they're very satisfied with it.
All right. So you still need to go to your doctor and get an evaluation, but if you can't afford the custom-made aid, this is an option that you can get online.
Absolutely. We recommend seeing a physician, getting the best hearing aid you can afford, but the MDHearingAid is an option for people where cost may be an issue.
And how much does this cost?
It's less than $200 each.
There you go. Dr. Cherukuri, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for your time.
All right.